This past week, Ubisoft were kind enough to let us try out Siege's newest seasonal update. Now, there's a lot to talk about. A Favela rework, a 3-speed healer on defense, and numerous nips and tucks to things like barrel attachments, bullet holes, and oh baby, the Bearing 9. Here is everything you need to know about North Star. Okay, so before we dive into things, you know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because, hey, you like Siege, I like Siege, let's talk about Siege. Okay, so first things first, the new operator, Thunderbird. She is a 3-speed, 1-armor defender whose primary gadget, called a Kona, is literally an automated turret that shoots out dock stims. It operates on a cooldown, and like Doc's stim, heals or overheals anyone who ventures into its area of effect. This includes attackers. It's also worth mentioning that anyone who is in a down but not out state can crawl over to a Kona, it shoots a stim into you, and voila, you're resurrected. So how do you use it? Well, as far as walkthroughs go, it's pretty easy. You put it on the ground, wait for it to charge up, and watch as it heals your homies. She gets 3 of them, meaning that she can pop, say, 1 on each site, and since she is a 3-speed with a frag-heavy loadout, take one with her as she roams off-site to hold a choke.
Alibi. Run.
Huh?
You just you stop aiming, you just see a dude run in front of you.
Which brings us to Thunderbird's kit. Now, in terms of primary, they gave her Finka's assault rifle, the Spear 308, making her the only defender aside from Wamai to carry an AR. They also gave her Cav's auto shotty, which could actually be sick considering that she gets the much improved Bearing 9 as her secondary, which we'll touch upon when we talk about barrel attachments. She also gets Legion and Ying's pistol, but who cares? For her secondary gadget, you get to choose between a nitro cell or impacts. Needless to say, it's likely that she'll be played as a kind of Jaeger-esque put it down and forget about it type roamer. It's also likely that because of that, she'll be pretty popular and ranked. The point is obviously to go kinda nuts with her, since she outputs healing whether or not she's alive. So naturally, I gave her to our new 18-year-old video editor, told him to crush a G Fuel, and said, hey, eat up, kid.
Nice.
Reloading.
Okay, chill.
That said, Thunderbird's kit is very versatile, and I could actually see a universe in which, on certain sites, you could run her as an anchor. Think about it. You've got spammable self-healing, an auto shotty, a nitro cell, and a truly excellent SMG. Which segues us perfectly into the next subject of interest: barrel attachment changes. In short, Ubisoft have both reworked and simplified barrel attachments such that they actually, well, make sense. In addition to, hiding flash, the flash hider is now strictly responsible for dampening vertical recoil. The compensator continues to mitigate recoil from left to right, and the muzzle brake helps recenter a weapon more quickly whilst one-tapping. The suppressor remains entirely useless, which makes me really sad, because I was really hoping they would do something with that. Anyway, this obviously impacts certain weapons more than others. Most of the already easy to use guns felt pretty much the same. I didn't notice much of a difference with Ying's LMG or Sledge's AR, for instance, since they already boast a relatively low rate of fire.
Switch drones after Devin, though.
Crazy.
That said, there were some notoriously unwieldy weapons for which it seemed to make a huge difference, such as the F2. Now, don't get me wrong, this does not hold a candle to the old pre-nerf muzzle plus ACOG F2, because that thing was... But this new one, with flash hider, not too shabby.
Dude, this thing is so hard to control. SMG.
But where the barrel attachments became most noticeable, for me at least, was on one particular machine pistol, the Bearing 9, whose recoil has been foobarred for quite some time. Now, I'm not sure if it's just because of the attachments or if UB rebalanced machine pistols specifically, but man, does this thing go burr. That said, there did also seem to be some recoil nerfs, the most noticeable of which was Ash. Running either flash or comp, her R4C felt unexpectedly unwieldy. And by unwieldy, I mean unwieldy. Like, we're talking something along the lines of the recent Jaeger nerf, where even with the holo, the kick was just incredibly noticeable. They also took away that third Ash charge that they just gave her. So, rip Ash, I guess? Next, the map rework, Favela. Honestly, when it comes to siege maps, it's kind of just impossible to make real substantial pronouncements this early. Is it better than it was? Fucking absolutely. Is it good? Who knows? The biggest difference is that they removed a ton of the external walls, making the map much closer to being, well, you know, playable. It's still pretty clowny though. That said, it continues to be hard as shit to see anyone on the damn thing, and it still feels as if there's tons of weird, tight, claustrophobic choke points. Plus, I don't know about you, but I still can't load into this map and not play like an absolute idiot. The next big change is the stuff that happens post-death. One absolutely massive quality of life upgrade is that Ubisoft finally took out client-sided bodies and implemented a kind of translucent Valorant-esque operator icon in their stead. This means that when you die, your body just fades away, instead of becoming a highly annoying meat shield. They've also rejigged the post-death sequence somewhat, making it a little more apparent to new players how it is they got fragged and what'll happen in the seconds following the kill itself. Next are some very big changes to the support mode that were unveiled earlier this year. Namely, being able to use drones and cameras after death. Now, to be clear, this is only coming to the test server, not the live build. So before you start screaming at devs on Twitter about how the game is dead, please register the fact that this is only being tested, not implemented. Tested. So yes, you heard me. You can now hop on any previously deployed drones after death and drive them around as if you were alive. Yokais, Twitches, Mozzies, you name it. You can also hop on cameras, which includes maestros, bulletproofs, etc. Speaking of bulletproofs, they're now able to be rotated and have been equipped with an EMP shock that can be discharged by, yes, dead defenders. In terms of other small but significant quality of life changes, they got rid of bullet holes, meaning that you can no longer clap someone through an imperceptible hole that you made earlier in the round. I think I speak for everybody when I say thank f***ing God. They also made it so that Melusi's gadgets are no longer bulletproof. This one's pretty straightforward, and let's be honest, long overdue. Ubi also finally got around to fixing the game's smoke propagation system. So for technical reasons that are way above my head and I have no hope of understanding, toxic babes can no longer clip through walls and deny plants in the dumbest ways imaginable. Last but not least, and this one's really interesting, they've made it so that you can melee Mira windows, maestro cams, and bulletproof cams and render the actual glass impossible to see through. Needless to say, this is gonna make these things way less oppressive. The cams are still usable, mind you, like Maestro can still open his camera and go pew pew, but he now has to be super careful when denying plants or hard breaches, playing strictly off of intel and sound cues. So on the whole, a pretty great update. Not game-changing by any means, but great. Aside from the fact that I'd wish they'd just gone ahead and added player outlines, if CSGO can copy it from Valorant, so can you, Ubisoft. I think that North Star is a step in the right direction. And I, for one, can't wait to see where they go from here.
Inside. You can go for it, Dimitri.
There's another one that's on top of the...
Come on, get him for the views, man. He's right there. Shit! I thought he was on the main floor.
Oh my
Alright, whatever.